The new James Gunn movie Superman is leaving plenty of people with an overall positive reception. I was a bit torn on it at first, but I eventually warmed up on it and liked it way more than I initially did the first time. But one thing can be said about Superman: he does not take political stances. He just wants to do what's morally right. Superman isn't an extreme leftist or right. What he stands for doesn't fall into either side of politics. It falls into what you should be more like: a good human. Politics just divide us. I see nothing wrong with this statement, but according to comic book cringe, it's cringe. Wait, why? Refusing to participate in or even acknowledge politics just enables the far right. That implies that the far right people are not political, or that if we are participating in or even acknowledge politics, we are joining the left against them. You are so far gone to the left, you genuinely think that anyone who doesn't even participate in your political nonsense is automatically against you. It's tribalism nonsense, and it's more reason why people avoid politics. Political opinions are one thing, and people certainly love to share those in social media, especially due to recent events that I'm definitely not gonna touch because I still want to have some level of sanity. So let's talk about video game opinions instead. I really hate it when people say that something is factual, even though it's just their own opinions. Factually, the worst games of all time. Yeah, no, these are not factually the worst games. These are just your opinions. I went through the stream going through all these, and I rank every game that you put on there. Yes is when I agree. Meh is when I think the game is bad, but it's not as bad as you make it out to be. No idea is when I don't know much about the game to judge. And why is when I want to grab you by the neck and interrogate you why it's there. And after filtering the list of my own personal opinions, I only agree with 6 out of 50 games that I think are the absolute worst games of all time. Actually, out of 48, because Connect 4 is there twice for some reason. So 6 out of 48. So I only agree with you by 12.5%. Let's dismiss all the meh, no idea, and why entries, seriously, Yakuza 4, and actually discuss the real worst games ever made, shall we? E.T. for the Atari 2600. That game is so awful, it's a primary factor of the video game crash in the US. Sonic Freeriders. It requires the Kinect, and that's why their controls are god-awful, and I do not want my absolute worst enemies to experience. Soundtrack is nice, but that's normal for Sonic games. Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric is universally panned by even the most generous of Sonic apologists. Awful gameplay, awful story, just all around awful. Balan Wonderworld is absolutely banal, and I'd rather puke than touch that game. That Gollum game should be put straight to Mount Doom. The Day Before is not even a game, it's a downright scam. If you want a comprehensive list of the worst games ever made, I recommend TV Trope's Horrible Games list. They catalog all the horrible games from all the console generations. Games that are universally despised that no one in their right mind would try to defend, like Left Alive, a game that will eternally hunt my wallet at full price as it remains on my Steam library as a mark of my biggest pre-order failures of all time. I wish I pirated Left Alive instead of buying them, and if you are going to sell the Cs, I recommend you to be very careful. Some people unfortunately fell victims to scams, stupidly used torrent, and now I'm facing huge settlement fee. So the story is, this person lived in Japan for 8 years. During those times, the OP frequently used torrent to download everything from movies, books, games, etc. I also torrent a lot of stuff myself, but what the OP does next is something that you guys should never do. The OP received a letter from what seems to be the ISP to open the account to a copyright owner, and that the copyright owner is asking for a huge fine that the OP needs to pay. I don't know what the piracy laws are in Japan, but while piracy is definitely a lot more frowned upon there compared to many other places, when these self-proclaimed ISPs are asking you for loads of money over a huge copyright fine, you have to be very suspicious of them. The OP unfortunately paid all the fines, and then last week, the same self-proclaimed ISP asked for even more. Sorry to say this, dude, but you were scammed. Someone is posing as your ISP to get loads of money from you. There's no way for you to get a much lower fine, but there is a way for you to get out of that situation, and that is to stop paying the fine, because they are not the real ISP. They are scammers pretending to be your ISP, and your data is leaked somehow that allows those scammers to get your email and make those threatening emails. Just a PSA to all the sailors of the 7 seas, get a VPN. It will make your browsing sessions private from your ISPs and mask your torrenting activities, especially when the government in general wants to just straight up censor the internet left and right everywhere. Which VPN? Check out privacyguides.org and their recommendations for not just VPNs, but also everything else privacy related. Also, if you need a guide to sail the seas, our Piracy Megathread and its wonderful other treasures. Speaking of settlements, if this was already settled, this has to be one of the dumbest decisions ever made by a company. Activision has made a lot of horrible decisions with their Call of Duty games, but this one is some of the absolute worst. Steven Spielberg, arguably one of the greatest movie directors of all time, who directed all sorts of amazing classics, Schindler's List being not only my favorite movie of his, but also one of my favorite movies of all time, wanted to do a Call of Duty movie. Apparently, he's a huge gamer and he plays Call of Duty a lot, but he was denied by Activision because he wanted the final cut of the film. He wanted the final say. He wanted to actually direct. But no, Activision doesn't want Steven freaking Spielberg to make a movie. Instead, they handed over the creative rights to Paramount, in which they have more creative control over the process. That's right, guys. The creative process of Steven freaking Spielberg is way less important than the creative process of Activision. And you wonder why Hollywood doesn't take the video game industry seriously. It was a spectacular deal being given towards Activision, being handed to them on a silver platter, and they denied it. But there is something that you should definitely deny. Some people are trying to give you some of the most nonsensical advices that only benefit them instead of you. My wife and I haven't worked jobs in 4 years and aren't ashamed to admit that we are over 12 million in debt. Amazing start. You are 12 million in debt, and for what? Why would you want to reveal yourself that you are in debt to everyone? Unless you aren't. Not because we maxed out our American Express cards, but it is because you bought the freaking Cybertruck, isn't it? But because when we quit our 6-figure jobs in 2021, you quit your 6-figure jobs. Totally applicable to most people, right? Just quit your 6-figure jobs as if that's an easy thing to do, right? We went to the bank and showed them this $495,000 home we wanted to buy. They gave us $420,000 loan to buy it. That's right, just borrow money from the bank. It's not like you're gonna have to pay them back, right? We used all our savings to put 74.25k down, and I sold my truck to help pay for 30k of furniture. Yeah, because people totally have 75k worth of savings and 30k worth of truck just lying around, right? So to make a long story short, the couple borrowed millions of dollars to buy properties that make them loads of money. And now they are totally living free and live off the cash flow. I don't know why this couple is speaking as if that $12 million debt is something that can just pay off very easily. And even if they can pay that $12 million debt in 30 years, they're assuming that the business is going to be stable for that long, which is very unlikely. Our goal was never to live a life debt-free first. We just want financial freedom to spend unlimited time with our family. Financial freedom? I don't know about you guys, but being on a $12 million debt is not what I would call financial freedom. And we know if we wanted that lifestyle before 65, we had to use debt to buy assets, then let our assets pay off our debt. Yeah, that's the idea on paper. The same way having a relationship sounds good on paper. That is until you realize the amount of management, drama, heartbreak, and all-around commitment that you have to go through in order to make it work. It's definitely not something you can slouch on, that's for sure. If you want to learn more about how to start an Airbnb in 2025, read the strategy and caption. Yeah. No, do not follow whatever advice this person is giving because they will put you all in millions of dollars debt. Most people do not have the right amount of business management skills to manage one property, let alone several. Everyone wants to get rich, but they don't want the busy head work that comes with it. Being married is definitely gonna fry one's brains, but some people had their brains fried even before marriage. This is just an all-around embarrassing display of disgust, even though it's very easy to agree with the sentiment. If you posted an actual photo of a 50-year-old woman and not an anime drawing, most normal people would find that repulsive. And then someone proceeded to post a Korean model who is 58 years old. I actually do agree that most 50-year-old women, and men for that matter, are not that particularly attractive, but that only applies if you say an average 50-year-old woman, not a 50-year-old woman. Grok, is this AI? Oh wow, here we have another grok dork having to validate their opinions with AI in public. At least do it in private so no one's gonna clown your ass for asking this incredibly dumb question. Hags are disgusting. If you find hags attractive, you just wanna screw your mom. No, but there are plenty of people that definitely want to screw yours. All of these hateful and degrading comments about me below make me feel really unease. Could you please console me with some kind words?
You need to seek professional help.
That one was just sad all around. This one is both sad and uplifting. It's interesting how a post can be both sad and uplifting at the same time. I spent 14 years of bodybuilding to look like this. The girl I'm in love with is dating a guy who can't bench 135 pounds. He's not even rich. Kill me now.
May you rest in peace, Owen.
It's okay, dude. You really don't have to kill yourself over it. You have a pretty nice and buff body yourself. I'm sure that's quite an accomplishment for some guys at least. Seriously, the ones who like those kinds of bodies are usually guys. But hey, if you find women that do like it, more power to you. I still have my physique and there are other fish in the sea. Hey, that's actually a pretty optimistic outlook. Kudos, man. Most people would just give up after all that tragedy. I grew up watching He-Man and Superman and Hulk. I've always wanted to look like this. Perfectly understandable, man. Have a nice day. And don't kill yourself over some women.
If Jesus can't save these hoes, why are you trying?
Women are just full of drama and indecisions. It's interesting how men are always gonna be the ones doing something wrong with their lives. Male Gooners are so consistently freaking vile and weird. I don't know what you mean as vile and weird, but I'm sure that you're gonna say that the female equivalent is not vile. Because sexism. Female Gooners are angels to walk amongst the people. What the hell is up with that? Are they? Considering that this tweet doesn't exist anymore, I guess the OP just walks away from taking any accountability on this post. Women, am I right?
I think of a man, and I take away reason and accountability.
Even so, I think women absolutely deserve their own space, lest they get interrupted by ridiculous requests like this. This has got to be one of the weirdest requests that I have ever seen in the last couple of weeks. Are we gonna be able to play as a guy in this otome? I'm tired of being forced to play as a female. This comment is just all around absurd, and I absolutely love all those two wonderful sentences. Why would you want to play as a guy in a genre that is catered towards the female demographic, where the whole point is to date hot guys? I certainly don't want a female Hisao from Katawa Shoujo and have a full-on lesbian disabled romance party. Actually, a female Hisao isn't all that bad of an idea, but even if I think it's not a bad idea, it's not something that I'm gonna go out and ask in a comment on and not embarrass myself in front of everyone. And then there's the second sentence, being forced to play as a female. You are not forced to play as a female in an otome game. That's the whole appeal of otome games. You play as a woman that a lot of hot guys really like. Saying that you're forced to play as a female in an otome game is like saying I am forced to play as a military unit in a Call of Duty game. And that's all for the video today. Here's the cat. Huge thanks to all the wonderful sponsors this week. You are all fantastic. Don't forget to check out my previous videos here. Click the like button, comment, subscribe, join the YouTube membership, leave some tips, just $1 down below. And thanks for watching.